Hello, and welcome to another edition of Congregation Agudath Shalom's This Week in Jewish History. This week, I'd like us to discuss one of the major leaders of Reform Judaism in America, Rabbi David Einhorn. Einhorn was born in a small town called Disbeck in Bavaria in 1809, as the Reform movement was beginning to take shape in Germany. He studied and received his rabbinic ordination at the Rabbinical Seminary of Fürth, not far from his hometown. He also studied in various universities throughout Bavaria, including in Würzburg and Munich. Einhorn became a student of two early leaders of the Reform movement in Germany, Rabbi Abraham Geiger, who you see on your left, who was a somewhat moderate reformer, and Rabbi Samuel Holdheim, who you see on your right, who was known as a radical reformer. Holdheim held such extreme views as advocating the abolition of traditional Jewish laws and practices of marriage and divorce, as well, believe it or not, as moving Shabbat to Sunday. Einhorn actually succeeded Holdheim in his rabbinical position, but got involved in many controversies, and so he set his eyes across the ocean and decided to emigrate to America. Einhorn's first position in the United States was at Congregation Har Sinai in Baltimore, where he established his prominence as a leader and a spokesman. He served in Baltimore for approximately 6 years, after which he served in communities in Philadelphia as well as New York City. Einhorn advocated radical reform positions. He completely abolished any mention of the sacrificial order from his prayer book, as well as mention and belief in a Jewish return to Zion. In general, Einhorn did not believe in the chosenness of the Jewish people and downplayed this aspect of Jewish tradition. Rabbi Einhorn compiled his own prayer book titled Olat Tamid, ironically named after a sacrificial offering offered in the temple, in which he incorporated his own conceptions of Judaism. He maintained that most of the prayers should be said not in Hebrew but in the vernacular, which according to Einhorn meant German, as in his mind, German was the language of culture, not English. Here you can see his prayer book, Olat Tamid, with all of its German writing. Einhorn's radical views put him at odds with Rabbi Isaac Mayer Wise of Cincinnati, who you see here on the screen. Wise was considered the leader of the Reform movement in America, and he advocated moderate reforms in Jewish tradition. One of the main points of controversy between the two was the status of the Talmud. Wise believed that the authority of the Talmud should not be nullified entirely, so as to safeguard parts of Jewish tradition and to maintain unity with more orthodox elements of the Jewish community. Einhorn, on the other hand, believed that the Talmud was antiquated and should carry no weight at all in the Jewish community. One important aspect of Einhorn's time in America was the passionate anti-slavery sermon he delivered in Baltimore in 1861. He named the sermon The War on Amalek, calling the institution of slavery evil and inconsistent with Judaism. The problem for Einhorn was that he was in Maryland, a border state at the time with many pro-slavery advocates. Riots broke out as a result of Einhorn's sermon, and he had to flee to Philadelphia, where he assumed the position as head of Congregation Knesset Israel in that city. Einhorn's final position was in New York City, where he died in 1879. He was succeeded both in his position as well in his pushing for radical reform in the United States by his son-in-law, Rabbi Kaufman Kohler, who you currently see on your screens. Thank you for listening, and have a great day.